We have Kimberly and Isaiah here today. I want to thank you guys for blessing the platform and just, bringing awareness to mental health and mental illness. And like I said, you're helping kids that are just like you, right? So you're giving them a voice. By you being here says a lot, says how strong you are. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So I think something we're talking about is a safe place for you guys beyond a 9 to 5 business hours, right? Because where do kids have to go when they just need to cool off, right? Because especially with when we're struggling with anxiety or depression or any of those things, or even just normal day-to-day teenage life, right? Sometimes parents can escalate that, right?
Yes.
And where do you guys have to just go to say, you know what, I just need a couple of hours of my own safe place away from these particular adults
Right.
to maybe some other adults?
Well, I think
So before we go any further into that, can we go ahead and finish kind of like elaborating on what you're elaborating about?
I was 15 when I had my first son, and his father was very extremely abusive. And I would run away to get away from him to where he didn't know where I was at. But there was no safe place that I could tell my parents, hey, I'm going to go here because I need to be safe.
And how old was he? I guess.
18.
So he was older than you. And so how did your parents feel about you dating someone that was actually
They didn't know until it was too late, right? I'm pregnant, too late. I have had the conversation with my mom now, like in our healing journey, of like, do you regret not pressing charges? What do you? And she does. One time and only one time, there was a nonprofit organization in the town that we come from that had what was called cool-off houses, and I got to go stay at this person who was like certified as a foster parent or whatever for like a night or two to cool off from my parents because they thought my parents were the problem. I hadn't come forward with my abuse yet.
okay?
And I think about it now that I'm going through this with my son, and I'm like, why isn't that a thing? Why don't they have cool off places for these kids? Because it doesn't always need to be an inpatient or remove them from the home for these long periods of time. Couldn't we just de-escalate?
Yes, that is true. So, and now that we're talking about that, when you are going through this situation, do you think between you and your older child at the time that there was some kind of maybe trauma going on that you carried into your next relationship?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of trauma that gets carried in. Even now, because my ex-husband, who I did live with me through, was very emotionally and mentally abusive. And so it's very hard for him now. He struggles with the relationship with my boyfriend now because it's very hard for him to understand what is a healthy relationship look like.
A normal disagreement between two adults can be sometimes a little yelling because sometimes it's passion involved, right? When people have things in common, right? But there should never be a point in time where a man puts his hand on a woman ever. That is unacceptable. But right now is the number one thing that you think is affecting you.
uh um
The drama?
no trauma,
Trauma. And can you kind of elaborate on the trauma, if you will, if you can?
like um my old stepdad, he like the way he used to treat me and my mom. So that the or what affects me the most about that is like the trauma, and like I've been diagnosed with like PTSD and stuff like that. So that just like sometimes like looking at my new stepdad, who is really a great guy, I can't like I think different because of what has happened in the past.
And hearing you say that in real time right now makes me reflect on my own son. It makes me think about him because now I can kind of understand him more just by something you just said to me, by something that he's been traumatized in the past. So by him looking at me, I can understand now. He looks at me kind of almost the same way, even though I know he knows I'm a good guy. It's just some trauma that he's dealing with. I really thank you for sharing. And what is something that we can do to help you moving forward, like to heal? Like, what is something that can help you heal? What do you think that will make you better?
Therapy isn't the best decision because sometimes it's hard to try to talk to someone you really don't know.
That is another thing that we deal with, right? Is that the person who you're talking to, you don't really know, and then the person that you don't really know don't even understand you or your background or your history, right? That is a huge disconnect. So would it be comfortable talking to somebody that can kind of relate to what you're going?
Let's say if I was upset with my stepdad, instead of going and try to talk to him in the heat of the moment, try to talk to my mom in a different area so I could cool off.
Right. So you need to tell them, just leave me alone and give me a chance to cool down.
Yeah, like just get into a different room, relax a little.
What is something else that can help you heal and that will make you feel comfortable and not have anxiety or feeling stressed out?
For me, just listening to music.
I think sometimes too, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think sometimes our kids find solace in other parents, and I think we have to be comfortable with that.
It's a village.
We have to get rid of that mindset that like, oh no, this is who they, this is our, we don't go and talk about it, because maybe he does need another adult to tell him like,
Yes.
hey, you're not acting right.
Right. So I'm going to ask you a question right now. Besides the PTS diagnosis, does he have any other diagnoses?
That's up to you.
If you want to talk about that, if you want to share.
Yeah. I've been diagnosed with like the mood swing disorder, which is like just like bipolar.
Mhm.
I've been diagnosed with that. ADHD, depression, PTSD.
Have you tried any medications? And how have the medications been for you?
Sometimes they'll work.
Do you have the side effects from those medications?
Sometimes like I'll just be easily
Irritable?
and like, or sometimes I'll just be so calm that I'm just down, or sometimes I'll just eat so much.
And something that he shared with me the other day, and I hope it's okay if I share it here, is something he's struggling with that I think is very helpful to other kids is they're in their formative years where they're figuring out who they are. And he's like, I don't want to not know who I am because I'm on medication. And what if that's not who I am?
That is one of the things about my program is that there's no drugs involved.
Right.
And I believe that the program that I have, that me and my wife are going to be bringing to the table here, is going to do tremendous for the kids in our community, because there's no drugs involved and it's all natural healing, right? It's all hands on and it's all about love. And it's all, and it's also about teaching them to empower themselves, right? And to understand that we hear you. I'm here for you. And we don't want nothing back. All we want from you is to see you be successful. That is it. I have a question for Mom. When did you first notice the symptoms in your son?
About 3 years ago, he just went from being like this really happy kid to just really being very defiant. He's very loving. He has a huge heart. He always wants to like take care of everybody else. But it just turned into this like, if I can't have what I want, then basically F everybody else, and that's not quite NCC.
I think that is a good point right there. So she says she noticed this 3 years ago. What did you notice about your change? And do you notice it about that same exact time? What changed in you?
I noticed, I think it was hard for me to grasp at the fact that I have a father figure that's not bad. It was hard for me to like actually follow him, and I wanted to do what I wanted to do instead of following the rules.
It had been just the two of us since we had left the abuse. And so when it's just you and you're constantly working, and they kind of have free reign because you're working to provide.
Right.
And then you bring this other person, and now you have a two-parent dynamic. and it shifts the household, right?
Because this is about you. This is about trying to help you get through it, navigate through it. Are you on the IEP?
You know,
Have you ever thought about getting them on an IEP program?
We did,
that was my chair.
and then we did like the full psychological eval through the school psychologist, and they determined that he didn't need one for whatever reason.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you this: was his diagnosis by a doctor?
Yes.
It was by a doctor.
Mhm.
And why did they feel that he didn't need his IEP?
So this was in California,
Okay.
and this was before
The school did.
before the new diagnosis. We haven't revisited it here in Las Vegas. I feel like I didn't want to like stigmatize him, but the more that we do things like this and talk about it, I realize that I don't want him to feel that it's a stigma on me.
Yeah, we don't want to put a label on you, but this is the thing. You're still getting your education, right? It just have less people, less distractions, and it's just going to help you move forward a little bit faster.
There's different IPs for different things.
How do you do with your grades?
I do good.
So he does well when he does the
That's the work.
So
You got to do the work to get to the next level. You got to take care of the stuff here. So you'll never be seen. You can have all the talent in the world, but you'll never get there because the grades won't arrive. There's a lot of people like that. So I'm going to ask you some stuff like on triggers. So what are some of the triggers? What are some of the things that you've noticed, or besides the relationship stuff, what are some of the other triggers that you noticed that might set him off?
yelling, which is hard
Loud
because
voice.
I'm a yeller. Like I have a loud voice naturally, and I yell if I'm excited, if I'm upset, if I'm anything. Like my voice naturally.
So loud noise is one of the triggers. What are some of your other triggers that
Like door slamming.
door slamming? So do you have a problem with just getting up, walking, taking off, and just leaving and not telling people where you go a lot? Not a lot.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Even then, you guys still knew where I was going.
I mean, I knew that you weren't gonna go far from the general area. This is Las Vegas. It's not a small community where I can go knock on people's doors.
It's very bad here when it comes to child trafficking here in Los. So what are some of the treatment plans that you guys have implemented right now?
Right now, we really don't, if I'm being honest. We put him in the charter school. We started to see a positive. We put him in football. That helped a lot.
Okay.
Except for Lois.
Yeah. But it's a little bit harder, and I'm gonna address this, and if you don't want me to, you can stop me. But
Address what?
I think it's a little bit harder, I know for myself and maybe for him as well, for us to bring in therapists or other people, because we had an incident where we trusted, is this okay or no? Okay. Where we trusted a facility that was recommended by a hospital and doctors with our child who was supposed to be helping him. And I literally had to have a therapist debrief me after it was disclosed the horrific things that were going on in the facility and the things that he witnessed and was a part of. And like, I needed a therapy session after just hearing it. So I can't even imagine
It seems
the
very.
trauma that comes with that for a child.
This is the thing. This is what we need to talk about. This is the thing that they need to hear in real time. You go to a facility to get healed, and then in the facility, instead of getting healed, you get more trauma.
My son's hand bends in ways that it should not bend from the restraints that they use. He might not want to share the story, but I will, because I think people need to know. From hearing kids screaming in the shower for help because there's male staff members in there with them. Now he has a whole nother set of trauma.
This stuff needs to come out, and people need to hear it, because until somebody, I commend you for being brave and getting on here telling your story, Mom. Thank you, because these are the things that people need to hear. It has to stop, and there needs to be a change. We have to stop abusing these kids and taking advantage of these kids, just raking in the money, not doing nothing with it, putting these kids on medication, helping Big Pharma, not healing the kid, throwing kids in the cell, and not taking care of them. It needs to stop.
Cannot.
It's all about uplifting you, getting you to that step to where you can eventually be better, be more trusting, and be honest. And then you can come back and then help kids that are in the same position that you're in. Because you can show them that if I can do it, you can do it. It's one day at a time. And I want to hear you. So what is your reality to healing? What is your solution to really being better? What is something that you want adults to know about you that's going to help you on your journey?
Talking to my friends. I feel like talking to my friends is easier than talking to my parents sometimes. But just talking in general can help. I mean, it doesn't have to be therapy because we have trouble trusting therapists.
But then you understand too that there was an action, right? And then with every action, there comes some kind of you have to be responsible for your
That's
actions.
what I feel like I have trouble most is taking responsibility for my action and taking the consequences.
But that's something that we all have to deal with as children and adults. We all have to. If we do something, there's always responsibility, and there's always you have to own what we do. Consciously, if we know we're doing something wrong, we say, you know what? Let's think better of that. Let's do something different. Let me tell you and Mom something right now. Your life is not over.
Well,
You can still achieve anything you want to achieve in this life. And to help you do so, I'm willing to, right now, at least 3 times a week, take you to the field. And I got football. We can get the stuff out there and we can work on your game. But you have to do something for me. I'm going to be a man of my word. I'm not going to let you down.
I know.
You can hold me accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And we will go out there, we will run drills, we will do whatever it has to take to get you on that journey, to get you prepared so you can get to college, you can get to the NFL. So I just told you we're gonna make it happen. But the only thing I ask for you is that before we do something, that's not right, we think about what we do and we talk about it first, right? If that happens, what position do you want to play?
Receiver.
So look, we're gonna go to work. We're gonna run drills. I got stuff. It's hard work. I don't want to hear any excuses. I just want to go to work.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Deal?
Deal.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this show up. I want to thank Isaiah. I want to thank you, Kimberly. I want to thank you guys for coming on the show and just thank you. And it's just letting everybody know, what to expect and what to look for. And I just want to for all you guys out there, please subscribe and like the show and please donate to our cause. Thank you for
donate to help kids that are struggling with issues like mental health and spread awareness about the stuff that actually goes on, because not a lot of people know about what actually goes on.
And share your own stories because it's not a reflection of who you are as a parent if your child is struggling.
Thank you guys so much.